focus on some of the errors of the past. Does this mean that crises are good and that we should welcome crises, because that is ultimately what is going to result in change?
Let me respond to that question, and I also want to make 2 or 3 comments after that, if you don't mind, Ambassador Kamal. Very, very quickly, let me just say, I think a crisis has its pluses and minuses. The pluses are, of course, it raises to the top in terms of the problems that we have to face. And because we've not addressed it or we closed our eyes to it, a crisis opens our eyes. But you also have to be careful. The crisis of today that we are facing can also lead to isolationism and protectionism. And there we have to be extremely careful, because sometimes a crisis can lead us to sort of say, oh, to hell with the others. Let's now focus on ourselves. So we have to be careful of what a crisis. So we have to do our best to avoid crises. But always, as people, as our famous economy, as various economists call it, they always call it, these are adjustments. This is a huge hell of an adjustment, okay? And in a sense, I don't think we'd like these huge adjustments happening too often. But what we are going to occasionally, going to have this. So in a sense, a crisis helps us, but at the end of the day, we have to be careful that the crisis does not set us up to protectionism. I want to just say very quickly, and I know we are running short of time, I just want to leave you with a couple of key things. If you are looking at all what we've spoken about, I think I just want to highlight, funding is not the only issue when it comes to poverty alleviation, food crisis, and addressing all development challenges. You have the funding issue, and there are different models of funding. Okay, whether you call it through FDI, through ODA, through private sector. So there has to be, and we cannot just look at richer countries giving money to poorer countries. That there has to be other models that come in, because you cannot just give. There has to be conditionality. I don't think there should be conditionalities, but there has to be a win-win equation in this whole funding issue. The other is, I think, I want to make it sure, is you don't put money when you do not have the proper environment and the proper capacities that are on the ground for that money to be used properly. We should not throw money just into a black hole. We have to be careful. The other is that we have to be results-based, and we have to hold developing countries results-oriented. You give the money, but there has to be results-based. And accountability is going to be absolutely crucial from all sides, from the donor side, from those who give, and from those who get. And then finally, we have to have a level playing field on the economic models in the global playing field and on international trade. Because if we don't have that, a level playing field and a fair pricing system and a level playing field, we are all going to get hurt in that equation. And we will never solve the poverty problem. And it's also affecting us. And someone said, while we need to look at our own countries and our own populations, we are the world of today and the world of the tomorrow, we are intrinsically connected. We cannot be separate. We are dependent on each other, and we have no other alternative but to help each other. And we are going to see it happening more and more interconnected. Thanks.
I leave it to you to close this session. I'm not sure whether it is going to be from Madison or from TNEC.
It will be from TNEC. I'd like to thank very much our guest, Mr. Muttukumaru from the United Nations, for sharing with us your experience and wisdom. I'd like to thank also our guests from Lock Haven University, Lehigh University, and Montclair High School. Of course, as always, Ambassador Kamal, for your skills as moderator and host of the event. Just to remind everyone, on November 25th, we will be addressing yet another crisis, this time the crisis of terrorism. And our guest will be the permanent ambassador of the permanent mission to the UN from Afghanistan. From TNEC and Fairleigh Dickinson University, thank you all, and good afternoon.
And on your behalf and on mine, I'd like to thank Mr. Muttukumaru for taking time off and walking us through the extremely complex jungle of financing, economic development, and crisis. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Until we meet again, goodbye from the United Nations.